This is not a waiver of any kind. It is supplemental and cumulative, not substitutive. It is not intended as humor, entertainment, retaliation, reputational manipulation, repetitive public argument, nor as any modification of the procedural posture established. After further carefully considering the circumstances, I decided to check on Destiny's content recently.
What is the best method to combat someone like Asmongold? You have to ban this like algorithmic, like generated feed. This can't happen. I don't think anybody can survive this, right? Asmongold his brain is completely fucking fried on this shit, and then he just passes it off to his audience, who are all basically inheriting his algorithm, third person. I don't think most human minds just can't survive being fed the alternate reality, and he's so deep in this. That combined with the fact that everybody intentionally avoids any kind of confrontation these days, it makes it impossible to correct for it, right? Because when you're so deep into your alternate reality, like you can't confront any different opinions. You have to be locked in your own world. That's why Hassan doesn't debate anybody. That's why Trump doesn't debate anybody. That's why Asmongold doesn't debate anybody. They know that they're locked in their own little fucking world here. That would fall apart under 2 seconds of inspection.
I'm not surprised most prominent content creators intentionally avoid confronting Destiny. I also wouldn't claim Destiny must have been intending to imply I specifically am also intentionally avoiding confrontation with him. However, I do consider it reasonable to believe that refusing to at least seriously demonstrate I'm not afraid of confronting him for his past behavior towards me in 2019 could be reasonably seen by him and many others as me being cowardly and somehow fraudulent. So I decided to drop the following message in the general chat channel of Destiny's Discord server. Everyone's intentionally avoiding confrontation, sweeping generalization, really putting in work. Do not think you can treat me like all these clown-ass content creators like Asmongold or Hassan. The alternate reality they thrive in is the one I've always actively avoided, as if it's a disease. I have already done substantially more than necessary to adequately prove myself to be a permanent chief of the Shadow Confederation, with a core value of refined, pure, bidirectional apprehension. I have already publicly demonstrated, by any reasonable standard, beyond a preponderance of doubt, a dehumanizing mechanism of social maintenance of non-recognition, demonstrating refusal to give clarity its normal substantive effect in response to procedurally relevant provision of the Shadow Confederation Charter, its revisions and adequate supplemental materials. You have already proven yourself to be seriously mentally ill and deviously bad faith. You slandered me as a deeply mentally ill fraud when I first publicly insisted you notice my manifesto back in 2019, and then you either refused to research its contents further, even off-stream, even to this day. Quite unlikely, considering you're a generally rather meticulous, politically sophisticated actor, or neglected to publicly correct the record after what should have, by any reasonable standard, warranted public clarification without me needing to ever harass you for it. There is no meaningful criticism of me that can substantially withstand even a little serious investigation. That is definitely not true of you. There is nothing for me to debate with you. You have already lost, and I already know you are incapable of handling it truly responsibly. Just like the rest of these fraud content creators that have sold their souls. You're all drama-obsessed wannabe losers. I'm a real-world leader. We are not the same. I strongly suggest you avoid any further defamation of me. Have a good day. I wasn't trying to engage with individual members of Destiny's community. Already knowing beforehand I should expect to receive the kind of response I got. Some people calling for me to get banned, some saying I could talk to them if I needed someone to talk to. Some trying to humiliate and discredit me with pathetically naive engagement with things I've said publicly. Some just being immature and trying to make a joke out of what I said, and some assuming I was attempting to debate Destiny. I don't feel the need to call out any of them specifically. I watched the response for a few minutes after. Ultimately, I didn't get anything meaningful or unexpected from anyone, and I have much smarter things to do with my time than waste it responding to that kind of behavior. So I briefly clarified that I hope a mod or admin brings it to Destiny's attention what I said, and that I don't really care if it gets me banned, as long as Destiny understands I'm serious about what I'm saying. I then later checked Destiny's stream that day to see if there was anything I might need to engage substantively with in order to reinforce my position. I saw him start his stream off reacting to a recent video from a YouTuber called Uber Danger, who strangely decided to make some really strange slop video recording himself talking about dismantling the shadow government. I decided to drop another message in Destiny's Discord server after. The same day I confronted you publicly, They really decided to signal boost a drug addict with a messiah complex, mislabeling what is DSM-5, diagnosable criteria for multiple personality disorder, who was hallucinating about dismantling the shadow government while only really dismantling their own reputation, as they utterly incoherently talk about having a supposed platform-enforced restriction from political content creation that they spontaneously decided to unilaterally lift. The dehumanizing mechanism I've mentioned is not a social media algorithm, and there is no dismantling the Shadow Confederation. You lose all meaningful credibility if you complain that politics are corrupt while you actively contribute to the corruption. Hassan is too much of a clown by openly supporting terrorists and blatantly advocating for political assassination to even be capable of meaningful, politically sophisticated engagement with any worthwhile topic. Yet you regularly feel compelled to engage with stupidity him and adjacent figures indulge. You talk about Asmongold having naive engagement with politics and being in his own echo chamber, yet you grossly fail to compensate for your own seriously naive engagement with a meaningful, coherent foundation of emotionally and intellectually mature perception of objective reality, from which any truly reasonable politics should be based on. A formal license is not required to understand your evaluation of someone's mental health should only be existentially relevant to them if they seek or require your validation to make their worldview coherent. I do not seek or require anyone's validation to make my worldview coherent. You certainly have never been an exception to that. You should understand you become increasingly relevant to increasingly likely and serious civil and possibly also criminal litigation related to the matters addressed by my podcast. I've been seriously questioning if it's really meaningful or worthwhile for me to actually meticulously break down why Uber Danger's video demonstrates serious mental illness and really absolutely fails to dismantle my identity or worldview. I haven't really kept up with Destiny's content over the years. I've been focused on dealing with the harm I've had inflicted on me, primarily by others, and I don't want to seem eager to involve myself in drama, or as if I have nothing better to do, or as if I'm not serious about willingness to escalate into formally filing for litigation. I also happened to see this recently.
I always find it funny how Destiny is always trying to get more attention upon himself. Like, I would try to shrink and hide and never mention anyone's name ever again with the shit he's involved in, the lawsuits he's involved in. Like, the problem with Destiny is that he's so bad that I have to literally minimize even talking about him because I don't want to get my video flagged. In the past, if I ever put up a Destiny clip, well, you know, him talking about 15-year-olds or something, that shit gets flagged. Destiny's probably the one contender who has clips that are equally or more unhinged than Hassan, where he's talking about genociding conservatives and shit. Like, he's just not a reasonable person. He's constantly rage baiting, talking about like dead kids, talking about how, you know, if you disagree with him on politics, you deserve to get shot. It's like, how do you debate with such an unreasonable person?
Destiny has said if you disagree with him on politics, you deserve to get shot. I've watched several more Pegasus videos. That's how I've learned about how much of a clown Hassan is. Because I sure as hell am not going to sit through Hassan's 10-hour-long, insanely brain-rot-inducing, painfully boring streams. I haven't said anything about it before, but I was wondering why Pegasus doesn't cover Destiny more, and apparently Destiny is a lot more of a clown than I thought. Doesn't really matter if you didn't openly attend Diddy parties like Hassan, if you're out here defending sexualizing 15-year-olds. Although I'd say I'm apolitical, I disagree with Destiny's approach to politics overall, which is essentially fundamentally seriously disrespectful and bad faith. He looks down on you if you won't debate him, but he ultimately seems to put optics over substance and is just looking for one moment to treat as a catalyst to perpetually discredit you, making debating him inherently asymmetrically disadvantageous. It's more so performative quarreling instead of authentic engagement in disagreement, seeking truth or mutual understanding. Closest anyone got to dragging me down like that was Athene, like over a decade ago now. Last I checked, he's long since taken down the video he tried to clown on me in. I didn't even have to ask him to or threaten him or anything. I've never even bothered to press him for an apology because his whole approach to debates was just so corrupted, even compared to Destiny's, that it eventually organically fell apart. I'm pretty sure Destiny essentially just considers me a coward or stupid or something like that for having the perspective I do on him, even though it's actually based on broader life experience with people like him. That means Destiny actually in effect seriously more aggressively disrespects me and the Shadow Confederation more broadly as well, and it actually makes sense for me to see him giving attention to Uberdanger's video there as essentially existentially challenging me, even despite the fact that I consider myself apolitical. I believe I've already proven that nobody significant or prominent on the entire Twitch platform truly cares about or requires meaningful credibility or any kind of truly principled and consistent view on reality in order to continue content creation or generally functioning as a public figure in a meaningful capacity. Perhaps that's also true of Destiny, but I suppose it's also possible him being different in that regard is the real reason Twitch banned him. Instead of just challenging the credibility of Kimi and Jamie, when it's already become abundantly evident to me that they will simply increasingly egregiously flaunt being seriously morally bankrupt and fraudulent as the Twitch community supports them in actively, knowingly, seriously harming me, I first will document Destiny's behavior this time in order to more clearly demonstrate his contribution to serious and ongoing harm being inflicted on me. Uberdanger is sort of collateral damage, I suppose, although I'm not afraid of him either and don't owe him anything either. I've only ever heard of him many years ago and never really watched his content. Didn't really have any thoughts about the guy before this. I've never met him or communicated with him at all before. I've added him to my mailing list now after seeing this, since he seems somehow strangely relevant to what I've been dealing with. It's still quite unclear exactly what his involvement is. I don't think he's been a particularly significant contribution overall to the harm I've had inflicted on me. I don't have any particularly strong positive or negative feelings towards him. I don't know or particularly care if that's going to change. I'll just address the substance of the presentation through clips from Destiny's stream.
And I know you've probably wondered many times, what's going on behind the scenes?
I do wonder, bro.
Are you okay?
Talk to me.
What are you doing with your life and what's happening? And I know I haven't really put myself out there much. In fact, less and less so. And today I'd like to open up about exactly why. For almost 10 years, about...
I feel like I remember the name of this YouTuber. Maybe? Uberdanger. He's got 1.36 million subs. He hasn't posted in about a year. He's a league... Oh, maybe that's why I remember, because he's a league YouTuber?
So, right away, Destiny's intent in giving this any attention is highly questionable. He supposedly cares about the well-being of a guy he openly, casually expresses he barely cares for the existence of? He certainly doesn't seem to be very personally affected or hurt by whatever difficulty Uberdanger's going through. He's casually enjoying, basically completely clowning on the guy for easy clout and money. This is what Destiny does. His political engagement is money and clout first, actually being a decent person or honestly engaging in political discourse second. Pretty crazy for someone like that to openly express the belief that anyone that disagrees with him politically should be murdered.
For almost 10 years, about 9.5 years now, I have not been allowed to produce political content on YouTube. This followed the upload specifically of a video called Should You Play Zoe that I uploaded onto my channel in November. It will have been 10 years since I uploaded that video. In the video, I said something very heinous, something hateful. I said something extremely derogatory and hurtful towards Palestinians, and I said it in Hebrew. I basically said the word.
Hold on, wait. When this was linked to me in chat, I thought that he hadn't posted in a while because he was like crazy, and this is going to be a video about him coming back saying that he had to take a break because he was like having issues. But is this just... Is he crazy now and this is a crazy video? Or... Is he crazy now?
Towards Palestinians, and I said it in Hebrew. I basically said the worst thing you can possibly say in the worst possible context it can be said. Ever since I uploaded the video, Should You Play Zoe, I got a restriction that I was not allowed to produce political content. It's a restriction that has been on my channel for almost 10 years now. On and off, some label would appear on my channel saying you're not allowed to produce political content and other.
I don't even think this exists. I've never heard of this before my entire life. That YouTube can restrict you from doing certain types of content. I've never heard of this before, especially not 10 years ago.
Sometimes the label's not there anymore.
I've had what I consider good reason to say anything more questionable that I've said on this podcast, although many people would probably disagree, and clearly do, considering I'm still being disrespected how I am. I've never encountered anything like what Uberdanger is claiming. I guess you wouldn't expect anything different from someone who presents themselves as apolitical and permanent chief of the Shadow Confederation, though. So I don't know how meaningful that would be coming from me. But even Destiny agrees that it seems really odd to even make the claim made there, and it really doesn't help that literally absolutely no evidence was provided. It's just his word. Wouldn't you screenshot or record video of something like that if it was real and so significant and going on for so long? And present some kind of meaningful proof if you're seriously trying to whistleblow on it?
I don't care if you show it as a label on my channel. If you're my community, my viewers, or anyone who's been following my content for years, you know damn well I've not been allowed to express myself. I've been allowed to be radical, abrasive, and offensive, but I'm not allowed to be political. Okay? When I was 16 years old, I was getting around 20 million views a month on my YouTube gaming channel on the internet.
I think this is the clip he is referencing. 4 years ago. Oh, maybe he said it 9 years ago and it was uploaded 4 years ago?
Increase Israel's GDP. Zoe's Q, Mavet la Palestinim ha-melochlachim, is my new favorite skill shot in League, and honestly her only really high damage ability. She shoots a Star of David that collides with the first enemy hit, dealing damage in a small area. It can also hit the Palestinians, or minions, as Riot calls them. The further it travels, the more damage it does up to a cap, and that's
Okay.
Internet. So it's safe to say that I grew up with hundreds of millions of attention at a young age when I wasn't really ready for it. A lot of people have speculated over the years on whether Uber Danger was a character. Growing up, playing a character about half the time that I took that seriously, with hundreds of millions of perceived attention a year, and it broke me, man. I lived with a trauma-induced personality split for 12 years. I'm not joking. John and Uber took turns piloting my body, and at its worst, I had maybe a couple of weeks of permeance at a time. And it took me 12 years to overcome the mental illness of having that personality split. And for the majority of those years, I wasn't aware of what was happening to me or that there was anything wrong with me. I never questioned the fact that I couldn't think back more than 3 weeks. Whenever people called me schizo or crazy, I just thought it was the funniest shit ever because I always felt like myself. I knew I was a normal guy. But since then, I was able to resolve it, to absolve the trauma states, merge both my personalities in perfect symbiosis and become a whole person again, regaining
Fuck, he's crazy. He's Holy shit. Oh no.
I've never claimed to have a medical license, but the description of the issues sounds like what DSM-5 criteria would classify as multiple personality disorder. With someone like this who is basically flaunting how unserious he's actually been for so long, the assumption of a politically sophisticated actor like Destiny should be that it's a persona for entertainment purposes, which can still be just as true even if the person claims they're being serious and adopts a generally seemingly more serious demeanor, especially if they're explicitly talking about saying what they're saying to be political, which Uber Danger repeatedly did. Instead of that rational evaluation, Destiny decides to giggle about it, but also strangely take it seriously, while also trying to humiliate the guy. I'd call him disgusting for this kind of behavior, but Destiny himself can also try to make me look stupid and mentally ill for that, by implicitly hiding behind the persona excuse. I really wouldn't have considered it worth my time to pick apart any of something so sloppy if it wasn't useful in documenting evidence for a broader point, and demonstrating patterns of behavior suitable for escalation into formal civil and possibly even criminal litigation in the case of continued non-recognition and lack of meaningful, substantive attempts at any kind of real resolution outside of that context.
And I know I sound crazy for saying that there's a shadow government that controls the entire world and systemically oppress all of humanity. I sound like a conspiracy
Nah, bro.
lunatic, right?
Nah.
But if you stick with me and you hear what I have to say, I don't know, maybe I won't sound so crazy by the end of it.
Okay.
That was how it started. And one thing I think is important to keep note is that up until somewhat recently, for all those years, I was financially and just at large dependent on my YouTube career to live a functional, worthy life. I've been owned by these companies for so many years, and for each year that I had to slug through it, I just became more and more. It felt so soulless to me, man. so soulless to me. Like, I loved it. When I was a teenager, I loved expressing myself and putting myself out there on social media. It's my favorite thing, was making people laugh and putting my soul and my personality into what I make. Original Uber Danger, what my idea for content was that it's extreme, it's abrasive, it's psycho. It's fucking radical, you know? That's one thing you're not allowed to be these days, is radical.
Well, that's already quite telling. He initiated the whole foundation of his online identity, Uber Danger, off being seriously, authentically psychotic. And he got financially rewarded in a manner he was okay being dependent on for it. That's already logically a combination that can be reasonably expected to lead to real-life consequences of either death, getting institutionalized, or getting censored. Maybe you could call that oppression, but I'd say that's more reasonably being constrained by a functional system. The alternative would be the world getting destroyed by unchecked, increasingly unhinged money and clout fiend degenerate freaks. Sure, you can argue other kinds of corruption that might even be arguably worse exist within that system, but a meaningful solution to one kind of egregious corruption shouldn't be another kind of egregious corruption that's pretty close to, if not ultimately even worse than the other. It's true that being coherently, functionally radical and being authentically psychotic are perhaps at times substantially overlapped in external presentation. They're also functionally not the same thing. It's blatantly dysfunctional to reward desire to be blatantly radical while being blatantly psychotic. Giving this guy the benefit of the doubt, I assume he has some kind of plan to ultimately pivot away from promoting irresponsible drug use and flaunting serious mental illness to the point of arguably glorifying and endorsing it. Since he's explicitly stated he's saying these things to be political, he's probably already prepared himself for backlash, having to clarify things, possibly building something else that demonstrates his fundamental intentions as good. As for Destiny, he's not getting any benefit of the doubt from me for this. His behavior was blatantly seriously psychotic from my perspective. I'm sure he'd try to argue some kind of sophisticated political position about it, but I'm not going to play defense at all for someone blatantly actively contributing to serious harm being inflicted on my life who has never demonstrated anything truly even resembling good faith behavior towards me in his entire life.
For all these years, I thought it was just me being limited on social media because of what I had said and what I had done. But ever since I regained my mind, ever since I regained permanence, ever since my personality split stopped and I became a functional person again, ever since my schizotypal symptoms were reduced so that they were negligible, that entire time I thought it was just me being limited. But now I see that the oppression is systemic. It's fucking everyone. No one has freedom of expression across mainstream social media. Okay? The public narrative is owned by corporations. Social media, in my humble opinion, should be a utility, like your electricity or your water. Everyone should have free access to it. That exchange of information is the free world. And if you're not allowed to express yourself freely on mainstream social media, then we don't live in the free world. We live in a world that's repressed by tyrannical fascism. It's systematic oppression in broad daylight, if I'm being honest, right? And I've seen it from the inside too.
This just comes off like massive virtue signaling and a kind of appeal to authority. He's seen it from the inside, and that presumably gives him credibility. It's certainly not showing from the video he made. And how does one end up with such a strong feeling of censorship happening, who supposedly is genuinely trying to fix it, who can't even name one person they believe to be meaningfully being censored, who they can reasonably say they believe doesn't deserve it? Because even he himself ends up saying he can see how he deserves it. If you can't make a meaningful point about all this, why even say anything at all if you're actually supposedly doing it for the correct reasons? It seems blatantly dishonest, as if he's intentionally trying to discredit and drive attention away from someone who actually has a meaningful perspective on the topic or related issues.
When I regained my mind, I started playing a character as myself. I wanted to get enough information so that I could reliably give the free world a chance. So I could reliably pass on information that's actually worthwhile. And I'm not going to be a conspiracy nut about this, because I know how dangerous misinformation can be. And so I'm not going to tell you anything that I haven't been able to confirm beyond any measurement of doubt myself.
There's already a fundamental flaw in the reasoning presented. Beyond any measurement of doubt is not a valid metric for gauging perception. There's a reason why criminal litigation formally acknowledges a metric of beyond any reasonable doubt. A grounded mental framework adequately considering the nature of perception will retain awareness of the possibility of inaccuracy while interpreting sensory input and processing critical evaluation of information in a coherent manner. It cannot be an expectation or requirement of a truly fully coherent mental framework to confirm something in a manner you perceive to be beyond any measurement of doubt. That means that you have already decided you will consciously ignore any meaningful evidence to the contrary at that point, even if it's presented abundantly, adequately, coherently.
What I know for sure is that I've not been allowed to produce political content for the last 10 years.
We've
Ever
heard
since I
that.
said one sentence in Hebrew in Galio top lane. What I also know to be true.
Wait, Galio top lane? He was playing Zoe. Uh-oh. We gotta lie.
Well, at least Destiny called him out. This is the kind of person that is inclined to attempt to destroy the Shadow Confederation rather than substantively attempt to understand it and recognize why it exists and deserves respect, no matter how you feel about it. Blatantly incoherent, lying outright, and holding beliefs that would crumble easily under even a little serious investigation. The core foundation of the entire claim for the supposed reason he made the video is something he can't even consistently articulate. It truly demonstrates how immensely pathetic the vast majority of humanity is, that these seriously mentally ill entertainers can hide behind the implications of making content for entertainment purposes and say all this garbage and get more attention than serious, powerful actors, because these clowns have protections that make you look crazy for engaging seriously with them, and then they just flip-flop and arbitrarily decide when or how to take you seriously in return. I can already imagine what would be his immediate defense against that fundamentally dismantling argument. If he responds to this, watch him call it an honest mistake, or something stupid like that, while continuing to refuse to give me any explicit recognition, and refusing and or being incapable of applying adequate pressure to others to meaningfully engage with me publicly or privately, of course. Because he's just having so much fun acting like he's my slave, while really just thinking him and all these other clowns can bully me into feeling like I need to endlessly defend myself publicly while getting no meaningful or truly beneficial recognition, as if I will be too insecure or something to actually escalate into formally filing if this kind of garbage continues any longer for any reason. Like, right, he took the time to run his mouth for 45 minutes in a pre-recorded video where he repeatedly carefully pauses and picks his words strategically. Basically didn't make any mistakes in anything else he said. But the one thing that critically forms the fundamental premise for his entire presentation just so happens to have faced an honest mistake that is vastly off from what would form a coherent truth with the totality of what he's saying.
What I also know to be true is that this didn't happen to my channel when I uploaded, for example, the Jaeger Bomber, where I used real Syria drone strikes to a trap remix of a Nuclear Nasheed, a Holding Nasheed song as a trap remix, dressing up as a terrorist suicide bomber for Comic-Con. Yelling Allahu Akbar and this type of stuff. That just got demonetized and astroturfed. No restriction, no community guideline strike. It's just Islam. Lots to make fun of those guys. When I dressed up as a priest and promoted the concept of pedophilia and coming in a little boy's mouth for Comic-Con. It's funny, that video didn't even get demonetized. That was monetized. That was fine, that was funny. That's great. Yeah, make fun of Christianity, Islam. It's pretty jokes. When I was 20 years old, I said one sentence in Hebrew on my YouTube gaming channel. And I had to shut the fuck up for 10 years, okay?
Wow. So he seriously monetized and profited monetarily, professionally, and privately from extremely offensive and irresponsible, politically relevant rhetoric. And then he's complaining he wasn't allowed to be boundlessly unhinged and profit endlessly from increasingly seriously mentally ill and harmful behavior? That seriously lacking in self-awareness, and he wants to aggressively force his way into political discourse, and Destiny is cheering this on? This is so stupid. He really must be extremely mentally ill if this wasn't some sort of plan to lead into some other project he's been planning. Whatever that might be, I don't endorse it. I haven't been involved in it, and I don't even know what it is or if it even exists. It might be good. It might be bad. I don't particularly care either way right now, to be completely honest.
10 fucking years I've had to shut the fuck up about this. And every fucking time I've gone against the companies that own me over the last 10 years, every single time, it's had proportional, linear, destructive elements coming towards my life. Whether it be in form of restrictions or otherwise. And so, for the majority of this time, I mobilized myself to dismantle the shadow government and did everything in my power to give the free world a chance at being reestablished. And to me, the free world is algorithmic freedom of expression for humanity. That's not owned by anybody. No one should own what you're allowed to say.
True, bro.
He talks about going against companies that owned him and that causing proportional linear destructive elements coming towards his life. If you've submitted yourself to being owned like an animal, what do you expect? You're treated like a god and bowed to by your owners as you do whatever you want? With that mentality, humans should let their pets run the world and have dogs, cats, and insects dictate laws and justice. Doesn't take a genius to figure out the world would fall apart pretty fast. Don't sell or abandon your dignity and then expect to get treated like it's intact. Those aren't just abstract concepts, they have functional relevance to your life. Trying to ignore that doesn't eliminate it. Your arrogance doesn't make the Shadow Confederation some demonic entity.
Which brings me back to my trauma-induced personality split.
Okay.
So, like I said, John and Uber took turns being me for a long time. And I found a way to cure my mind. For 12 years, I experimented on myself with everything under the sun I could get access to. I didn't know there was anything wrong with me mentally, but I have scoliosis, I have bone deformity, and I didn't want to live my whole life with bone deformity. So, with access to the deep web, I had access to pretty much a lot of compounds of different varieties, and I experimented on myself with everything under the sun that's not painkillers or hormonal, right? And although I never did find a cure for scoliosis, other than like a healthy lifestyle to somewhat manage the condition, I did really fix my mental health. After walking around feeling the same type of mentally ill for 10 fucking years, 12 years, sorry, I lapped my mind together. I have coherence now. I have silence in my head where there used to be noise. I can think. I have an inner monologue. I can picture things. My mind works again, right?
This part is quite a bad look. Inconsistency in how he's actually also confused 10 years or 12 years for how long he's felt mentally ill. Inconsistency in how he previously claimed he's always felt like a normal guy, but now admits to feeling mentally ill all along. And practically taking pride in how he's done all kinds of research chemicals and illicit substances numerous times, as if it strengthens his credibility. I understand having tried multiple different drugs throughout your life being a kind of grounds to demonstrate your openness and willingness to expand your awareness, but everything under the sun that's not painkillers or hormonal seems rather substantially beyond that scope.
And according to psychotherapy and modern science, something like a trauma-induced personality split is something that takes 12 years to cure, if it's even curable, if you can even resolve the different personality states and resolve the trauma. In a lot of cases, it's not fixable.
What? Where is he getting the statistic of 12 years? I don't see him linking or even mentioning any studies or individuals that have somehow demonstrated that for him to feel it's appropriate to consider a precedent established. There's no such understanding or statistic in existence as far as I'm aware. It seems completely arbitrary. You can't throw out statements like that, provide no meaningful evidence or references, not have any substantial reason to consider it inherently evident, and then consider yourself to at all reasonably come off like an intellectual, or reasonable or justified in your position. Also stating in a lot of cases it's not fixable, but failing to provide any kind of meaningful qualifying criteria to distinguish relevant circumstances to determine fixability and how that specifically demonstrates or establishes validity to his personal perception as such specifically demonstrates blatant mental illness.
I don't know whether LSA could cure someone else's trauma-induced personality split, or whether psychedelically assisted psychotherapy is a very specific thing.
It's extremely unhinged to be essentially promoting irresponsible drug usage while providing a disclaimer that you feel it's appropriate because you supposedly don't know if psychedelically assisted psychotherapy is a very specific thing. Basic critical evaluation leads to the fact of precise chemical balance in someone's body being heavily relevant to their mental stability. Strongly suggesting a highly mind-altering substance being used in efforts to mitigate harm from dysfunctional perspectives is a highly specific thing. Most people would probably screw their lives up and enter an absolute nightmare they'd probably never recover from if they took really high doses of any psychedelic. I've certainly never claimed or intended to even attempt to claim otherwise.
I think he is on anxiolytic. And I don't know how to pronounce that word. ANXIO, anxiolytic meds, which probably calms him, but does not treat the psychotic symptoms themselves. Okay.
Like I said, I'm also kind of crazy. I
Anti-anxiety.
believe
Oh,
myself to have been
anti-anxiety. I
controlled
see.
opposition of a shadow government for 10 years.
Okay. Thank you for getting to this part. This is the important
Another thing I believe quite sternly is that trauma-induced personality splits are a load-bearing structure of how they're able to oppress humanity. I simply do not actually think that social media algorithms would have the grasp on humanity that they do if we were able to cure trauma-induced personality splits and similar dissociative disorders on a worldwide scale, right?
Okay.
Thank you for getting to this part. This is the important part. So Destiny is blatantly admitting he has a clear purpose and agenda in showing the video. Uber Danger certainly isn't being explicitly critical of Destiny at any point in the video. And Destiny doesn't really present any clear reason why he couldn't have just made that point himself if it was an authentic concern of his. This whole thing just comes off like some extremely pathetic, desperate attempt to virtue signal away meaningful discourse around the realities of widespread mental illness and the true relevancy or lack thereof of social media algorithms in regards to truly mitigating harm in relation to it.
Well, maybe I'm just crazy, you know? But in case I'm not crazy, and there really is a shadow government that controls the entire world, I have already distributed this information to so many people that if you fucking killed me, you wouldn't be able to undo what I've done, right?
So that's what they're doing here? This guy wants to act like it's seriously possible that the Shadow Confederation would want to kill him for basically just blatantly admitting to being a massive drug addict and clout fiend on the internet. He's acting like he thinks he's done something revolutionary by saying this stuff. That's where the Messiah complex becomes evident. Even despite his attempts to conceal it by trying to sound reasonable through regularly attempting to portray himself as humble throughout the video. Ugh, and then probably here comes the persona argument again. Was he pretending the whole thing about being mentally ill? Is that his next video? Claiming he was joking about everything and then Destiny trying to laugh at me for breaking it down like they were serious? That would really show how big of clowns they are. I certainly wouldn't put it past them.
After 12 years of experimenting on myself, I decided to write down how I do it. For the sake of science, one single time, as best as I could, write it down. I made sure to study psychology and clinical diagnosis and how to write down.
This is a good lead-in for our Dr. K video.
He talks about studying psychology, but he clearly hasn't even reviewed the DSM-5 and seriously attempted to determine if any existing diagnostic criteria for formally recognized mental illness that could classify his condition exists before he decides to invent trauma-induced personality splits and repeatedly reference the term, based on him talking about literally feeling two separate personalities and having a foggy memory or planning ability where he feels lack of permanence, which can be at even rather frequent intervals. It seems like pretty straightforward multiple personality disorder. It's pretty much a given that it's trauma-induced, since it's often a kind of defense mechanism as a result of severe experienced trauma that causes multiple personality disorder, and not like some insane genetic predisposition to it. Many individuals with multiple personality disorder also have at least some of their personalities having substantial awareness of at least some of the others. Usually it's a lot more obvious when someone has several different distinct personalities as opposed to just two. That said, I'm also well aware that licensed professionals typically consider more than just DSM-5 classification criteria in making a diagnosis. Plus, patients often lie about the reality of their circumstances for a variety of reasons, so that's why he's probably ended up with a different diagnosis if he was formally evaluated.
I did my very best at articulating myself as well as I could, as accurately as I could, with the experiments I do, and showing the result that the treatment I do has on the human mind. And since no website is willing to publish my personal experience, I've decided to just publish it myself, because I can, right? So it's in the description. There's a Google Drive link to my personal, either the thesis for my life's work or a manifesto, depending on whether I'm right or wrong.
Casually doing drugs for over a decade to cope with life and facilitate you to be able to continue content creation through most of it, and then deciding to sloppily write down a couple of your experiences using some knowledge of how to frame clinical diagnosis is a pretty pathetic criteria to call a thesis for your life's work or a manifesto. It's not really either. It's just a glorified trip report using some more formal language.
My brother started exhibiting schizo symptoms a few years ago, and it's really made me sympathize with people like this. Whenever I see these videos, they make me sad. Lots don't realize how disconnected these people are and the kind of help they need. This is one of the things that I said when it came to doing like psychedelics and shit is prior to me doing way too many mushrooms, I don't know if I would have ever said this out loud, but my feeling was that if I ever had like schizophrenia or whatever, I could probably figure out like, okay, like this guy's clearly not real. This guy's clearly real. Like, like you can tell like who's interacting with who, right? That would have been like my assumption, because it's like, if you're not retarded, you should be able to piece it together, right? One thing that I never gave credit to, that I just never really thought about, because you don't really think about it, is there's a thing for you to see a thing, like your sense data to convey. There's a sound there, there's a person there, but there is a deeper feeling of like, this feels real. And I don't know how to put that feeling into words, but you can't really fight against that. It's a strong feeling that you have. And those things power so much of your navigation through the world. And when that shit starts to get fucked with, it really doesn't, there's no way to like think yourself out of that thing. But it's hard to even have that perspective, I guess, unless you have some kind of psychosis or, a psychotic disorder, or you've done a lot of psychedelics, I guess. Yeah. Ugh, not good. I feel really bad for these people.
It certainly says something that Destiny had to do what he calls way too many shrooms to even understand the emotional concept of a deep feeling of subjective perception of truth that many inherently can understand and empathize with. That definitely reveals some kind of serious mental illness. That's some quite serious being cut off from emotional awareness. His prior perspective was basically that everyone who appears to be schizo is just faking it or extremely stupid. This is the same guy who is publicly broadcasting that he believes you deserve to be murdered if you don't agree with his politics.
It's weird too, because like when people think you're crazy, they think that it's like random shit. Like you're just like, oh, he's a fucking white person. But they're not. Oftentimes, I don't know if I'm over-selecting for this just because I'm on the internet or whatever, but like when you listen to people like this, or schizophrenics who email me, they always sound like well above average IQ. Like these are decently complex sentences that he's putting together. He clearly has a grasp on some like higher educational terms or whatever. He's not just saying like random words and random shit. Like he has like an understanding of like relatively complex thoughts, but he's fucking crazy, right? And it's hard. And a lot of people would imagine like a schizophrenic is a guy who's just walking around mumbling random words, but they're not. Like they appear to be coherent. They appear to be lucid. And I mean, they kind of are, but there's something like fundamental that's like deeply wrong. And it's a very, very, very scary. It's a very scary world. Yeah.
Destiny is absolutely over-selecting with a massive bias because he's so heavily on the internet. I don't doubt that a lot of people who contact him, as he described, probably do have some kind of serious mental illness. But he's definitely seriously out of touch on his perspective. He's clearly never been to a mental hospital before. I have. You definitely do see schizos walking around mumbling random words. You'll have most people pretty obviously incoherent. People who claim they're the second coming of Jesus. People who claim they can jump off the top of high-rise buildings and land on the ground and be perfectly fine with no tools, assistance, or special training. All kinds of things. Even trying to gently press them a little on what meaningful foundation they have to feel substantiates their belief pretty much immediately, reveals the whole thing, crumbles apart, and they'll probably devolve into some rant about some really odd tendencies they have. Sure, there's a much smaller amount that are more coherent or reasonable at a surface level, and the psychosis only shows if you dive deeper into their beliefs, but generally, they aren't well above average IQ people. I wouldn't say they're typically exceptionally stupid either. If I had to try to guess what leads to serious mental illness like that, I'd say it's usually a combination of serious traumas and persistent repressed severe emotional distress that someone of average IQ simply cannot bear the weight of while maintaining adequate coherency of their mental framework. Of course, a mental hospital alone also becomes a context you can argue selection bias for. But I've also been homeless for many years of my life, and I'd say it's representative of a broader spectrum, including those that are free to roam the streets as well. It's just perhaps usually less obvious or extreme on the streets in comparison. Destiny is just in a very unique position with the kind of notoriety and influence he has, where he's drastically more likely to encounter honest expression from the kind of schizos he's talking about than pretty much anyone else would be. They are not the norm, they are actually the exception.
Your place in this world is completely wholesale fabricated by your brain. That's it. nothing outside of you matters. Literally nothing outside of you matters. It's whatever your brain is able to piece together. And when you start fucking with your brain's ability to piece stuff together, you completely lose your connection to the external world. You just can't do it. It's like cutting your Ethernet cable and trying to pretend like if you just push the right types of buttons or whatever, you can figure out, what's on Google. You can't. It's gone. It's completely severed. It's incapable of doing it. It's not good. Bad feelings.
This is another ultra out of touch take by Destiny. Your place in this world is completely fabricated by your brain? Nothing outside of you matters? Try telling that to someone not born in conditions so privileged that they're unable to even conceive of the idea that it's possible you were born within circumstances beyond your control that restrict you in ways no amount of merely thinking can ever possibly liberate you from related distress of. Altering how your brain pieces things together is something many people do in response to trauma, or even simply conditions they find unfavorable or unideal, and it's certainly not unconditionally irreversible, nor unconditionally cuts off your connection to the external world. Reversibility and loss of touch with objectivity are highly contextually dependent.
I have some other videos in the works. I decided to break up with the concept of not being allowed to be political because I do think it's a violation of my human right to express myself. I think everyone should be allowed to be political, even if they've said something stupid or hurtful. Okay?
I wouldn't say it's incoherent to believe that it makes sense to still be able to engage in politics even if you've said stupid or hurtful things before. But it certainly is incoherent to blatantly demonstrate extremely serious mental illness, explicitly admit to having massive political biases, and having pushed extremely seriously harmful secret agendas for many years that you yourself clearly recognize have caused, and perhaps even continue to this day to cause, extremely serious harm, and unilaterally dictate that your behavior is sufficient to demonstrate your worthiness of removal of a restriction you haven't even remotely proven ever even really existed.
Back in 2013, woke cancel culture successfully redistributed primary politics from the state levels to the hearts and minds of every person in the free world with access to the internet. And I believe that the narrative that's been applied upon all of humanity is a very, very desperate attempt to remain in power for the people that would otherwise be eaten by their slaves.
All right, well, for anyone that believes that, then I suppose you believe this release is also an extremely desperate attempt to remain in power by me because I would otherwise be eaten by my non-existent slaves. I'm really not sure who you believe to be my slave or why, or how this suddenly magically enables me to retain power over such people that would otherwise be able to destroy me. That's just not true. You can try to call me out and challenge me somehow to be lying about that, but I already know literally absolutely nobody has any real evidence to substantiate such claims against me. I completely authentically do not fear anyone exposing me for anything. Any exposing would be a completely fabricated, blatant lie, a gross exaggeration to the point of substantial material misrepresentation. They are risking facing serious defamation, other potential lawsuits, or worse things from me over, or something I've never even been trying to hide, and it actually only benefits me for people to recognize the reality of me, that they seem to be fatally insistent on trying to ignore, deny, trivialize, dismiss, and despise me as a result of.
I don't know where things are going to go from here. Oh yeah, this is the thing I was going to say. Shit, I forget everything. My bad, guys. My bad, G-Lo. Honestly, come here. Enough said a lot. I know it's been a pretty hefty video already, but over the years, it has substantial consequences for me whenever I've decided to go against the companies that own me, and whenever I've decided to try to speak up publicly. It's never really worked out for me, to be honest. And around 2 years ago, I decided to just stop working with companies, stop working with sponsorships. I told my guy from Mythic, I was like, I can't do it anymore, man. I cannot do it.
So this guy just so happened to decide to stop taking sponsorships around the time I started this podcast? Huh.
This isn't a fucking grift. Don't donate me a single dollar. I'm serious. I don't want your donations. I want your attention. I want you to think about the words I've said. I want you to think about the possibility that it's dead true, every single word, that there's not freedom of expression across mainstream social media, and that the world is becoming less and less free, and that humanity should stand up for their fucking rights. If I should put it into a couple words, I would say it's that. That's precisely the thing for me. The fact that in the main place, the primary arena where we interact with each other, that is to say mainstream social media, people are not allowed to freely express themselves. There's algorithmic limitations on how people express themselves. Human expression is now owned and monetized.
Not good,
Pisses
guys.
me off. I'm actually fucking enraged over this. Because, you gotta think, I did something, I grew up and I was really offensive and I was really abrasive and I was hurtful for attention.
We're
on
looping.
social media when I grew up. So for me personally, I actually don't think it was wrong for me to be limited for all these years necessarily. But seeing how this is applied to everyone, seeing how if you didn't do what I did, you're still put under the same limitations. And it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you would have to do something heinous on social media for you to not have freedom of expression. And I just think that's wrong. I think that's dead wrong. And I think people should speak up against it. We should fucking demand that these companies do better. It can't be legal. There's no way it's legal. And if it is legal, then they should change the laws. Those are terrible laws if that's legal. What a shitty world. What a rotten, disgusting world we live in. Thanks for watching.
Destiny provides absolutely no pushback to the overall conclusion Uber Danger presents that he's not grifting because he's seemingly not after his viewers' money. You can still grift for clout. Clout itself can be seen to have monetary value and impact your lifestyle substantially. And he's explicitly saying he wants attention, which translates to he wants clout. The reason I feel comfortable with the prospect of giving him attention is because I've clearly endeavored to ensure it's abundantly evident I don't support or endorse him or his irresponsible views, and in fact what would have been dismantling my worldview if I was a fraud, or my worldview was incoherent, in fact only more clearly demonstrates how coherent my worldview really is. I would say it's quite unlikely Uber Danger recorded and released that video in hopes I could, or would actually thoroughly dismantle his entire position. I see no evidence to meaningfully suggest he even knows of my existence at all, much less that he genuinely respects me or has any authentic desire or willingness to support me at all. Destiny's fundamentally supportive behavior clearly indicates Destiny certainly isn't in a similar position as me. His behavior comes off to me as certainly entirely self-serving and perhaps even intentionally harmful towards me. Nobody else seriously trying to discredit me is in a similar position to me either. I've yet to see even one person who actually has any kind of serious or meaningful point that actually discredits any part of my position established on this podcast. And anyone even trying, without explicitly mentioning me and proving it makes clear, serious, reasonable sense to believe I'm aware of their claims should already inherently be seen as a massive coward, fraud, and seriously mentally ill with absolutely zero real credibility on anything they speak about ever in relation to any aspect of my position established on this podcast or my existence in general. There are no exceptions. Absolutely none. I have behavior more obviously and directly relevant to potential litigation to document publicly. About a week after my last release on this podcast, Jamie especially demonstrated how egregiously maliciously some utterly morally bankrupt individuals are willing to deceive.
I just haven't been able to stream. My mental is shit. Why are you crying? I don't fucking know. Can you fuck off? I don't know if I'm PMSing or something, but I just can't stop crying. I'm just like mentally ill. I'm definitely PMSing because I don't understand what's happening. I have ADHD, okay? Like, I seem high functioning, but my ADHD is fucking flourishing. Nothing happened, guys. I'm just, like, literally mentally ill. I don't have BPD. I'm pretty sure I don't have BPD. Nothing happened. Like, I'm just mentally ill, guys. Like, I'm mentally ill, and I always have been.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception, misattributing to premenstrual syndrome certain symptoms she herself in reality should and probably does clearly identify as evidence of her possessing authentic serious mental illness, including, but not limited to, possibilities of ADHD, depression, and bipolar disorder. Further, it demonstrates the pattern of her engaging in serious deception, utilizing public intense emotional expression in order to discredit others' criticism of her mental health, and likely also how it ultimately impacts her ability to overall function in life in a manner inclined to making implications or claims of misogyny and or general lack of authentic empathy or awareness towards biological difficulties unique to individuals born female or biological differences they possess from individuals born male.
Okay, do you guys want to hear my theory? I think birthdays, especially after like 23, birthdays, like celebrating birthdays, it's really more so you're trying to celebrate and distract the person as much as possible from being sad on their birthday. That's what I think a good birthday is. How much you can distract someone from being sad on their birthday. That's what birthday is. That's my theory. Birthdays are sad. Like, you're 1 year closer to death. I'm not sad for my birthday. I'm just sad. Like, I've been mentally ill for like the last month. This is not new. It just came out. Maybe because on my birthday, I feel like I can do whatever I want. So I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna cry on stream today. Fuck yeah. Like, I've been like this, guys. And then I just say like, that's why I haven't streamed, because like I have this expectation of myself to be perfect before I like film or upload anything or stream, and I'm like, man, like, this is taking really long, Jamie. You've been mentally ill for a really long time. I think I should just do it. Like, I should just do it. And it's also because like all the streamers are so like mentally ill. I feel like it's so oral loss if I am also mentally ill. But I'm technically out of streaming right now too, and I'm still mentally ill, so I'm like, this is just who I am.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception, consciously, specifically utilizing her birthday to attempt to build credibility for seriously irresponsible and unreasonable behavior that she's consciously aware of as such. Further, it demonstrates a pattern of Jamie utilizing such deception to also engage in serious deception, amplifying the perceived credibility of her claims about her mental health in relation to other live streamers.
The last like 3 years, it fucking killed me, fucking killed me. It fucking killed me. I'm not like but as business savvy as I thought like I am, but at the same time I don't know. And then I've worked really hard and I still don't understand everything.
The evidence demonstrates Jamie beginning especially serious deception in relation to the reality of her business practices and how proficient she perceives herself to be, and probably actually is, beginning about 3 years ago. Specifically in relation to how hard she supposedly works and how thoroughly she supposedly understands objective reality. About 3 years ago. So basically ever since I started aggressively dismantling the relevance and influence of every aggressively, egregiously malicious bad faith actor attempting to endlessly, perpetually inflict serious harm on the entirety of my existence, fully, knowingly, entirely to my detriment and entirely against my consent. I'm not mentally ill, so I have a proper, coherent explanation for what exactly I did and how exactly I did it, which I feel no need to go into extensive detail regarding here currently, but I can try to put it into terms perhaps easier for non-Shadow Confederation members to begin to digest. In terms a government agent might better understand, I am an international security asset. In terms someone seriously mentally ill and reasonably intelligent might better understand, I fully, consciously, and intentionally, extremely meticulously, continually, directly interfaced with the quantum field, transcended time and space for an extended period of time, traveled across countless alternate dimensions where I was murdered or died in various ways, and dismantled an external constraint loop attempting to cause a permanent, irreversible divergence in my conscious experience of objective reality, without any psychedelic substances. In terms an idiot might better understand, I am an extremely powerful supernatural being in a human body.
No, I honestly haven't been doing anything like that. I haven't been doing anything. Well, no, I have. I've been really busy, but like, I don't know. I'm just behind on everything. But yeah, and all my friends are so good to me. So I had a nice time with the family. It was nice, but also stressful. I've been depressed for like a month. And then like I've been stressed and depressed.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to what she's doing off camera, especially in relation to how caught up with her work she is, how good her friends are to her, how stressed she is, and how depressed she is.
I actually just fucking need help all the time, and I feel like people in my life help me, and it's not enough. Like, I'm just that helpless. Like, and then I don't understand because I'm so smart, but I'm also so fucking dumb.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to how much help she needs and how much help she receives from people in her life, especially in relation to her presentation of her intellect to others.
Talk to us. Yeah, I do want to talk to you guys. I haven't, but it's a lot because I haven't like opened up to anyone. I probably need therapy again. But anyways, I think I suppressed so much for the last like 2 months, and then of course on my birthday it comes out. I'm like,
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to how appropriate her intense emotional expression is as a result of a claimed amount or lack thereof of opening up to others in her life, especially in relation to how it would make her going to therapy necessary or appropriate. Further, it suggests such being a primary mechanism of exploiting specifically her birthdays to achieve various nefarious goals she's consciously engaged in. It also suggests she might be consciously utilizing serious deception related to her conscious awareness of suppressing emotion for certain periods of time in relation to her intense emotional outbursts in order to obscure clarity to good faith actors attempting to discern the truth of relevant matters.
I'm just stressed. I get really easily stressed. Is what I'm realizing. I'm very sensitive, and like I feel like I'm very sensitive, and I'm accepting that because I feel like for the longest time I kept running away from me being sensitive, and me like I like turned off my emotions and like doing everything like I'm like I need to get my shit together. And then I realized I can't. I'm just like, this is just who I am. Like, I'm so sensitive.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to her sensitivity and her ability and willingness to accept it, as well as how that relates to her stress levels and her ability to get her shit together.
And then like, oh my god, this is so stupid. But this is so stupid about us. Oh god, it's too much. But you know, I'm like, oh, I should show up for myself. And then sometimes showing up for myself is too much. And I'm like, I need to just chill. I just need to chill. But then I can't chill because there's a lot going on right now.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to her conscious awareness of her engaging in seriously irresponsible, reckless, short-sighted sociopath behavior, especially in how it relates to her showing up for herself.
I also think I have like, I wanted to ask you guys your experience with like anxiety meds because I think I have really bad anxiety. I feel like I have really bad anxiety, and I was like looking into it. I was like, should I go on anxiety meds? Like, I think I need it because I'm dying. But yeah, I don't know. But I don't know, cause like I was fine. Like, actually, I don't know. I don't know when the last time I was fine. Are you on ADHD meds? No, I don't. No.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in behavior publicly seeking others' endorsement or approval of her taking certain drugs that may seem appropriate for problems she claims to have, while she actively refuses to take any medication for conditions she has explicitly publicly confirmed herself as having and being prominent problems for her.
I can't even talk to my friends right now because I'll just start crying. That's why it's like, let me stream and like talk to my chat because it's a bit easier for me because like I need to like talk about things in like a humorous way. Otherwise it's too much. But my friends, like I know they would care so much that I don't tell them because it's too much. I'm like, I'll get so sad. And like it's weird because like I can't let it out to my friends, but it gets way too serious if you let it out to your friends. You know what I mean? And then if I tell my friends, they're gonna like they're gonna go behind my back and do nice things for me, and then I get scared because it's just gonna make me cry more.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie utilizing behavior she publicly claims is humor. In order to avoid real, serious, meaningful conversations she probably should be having with her friends, and possibly also other people somehow in her life.
I do have a lot of stuff to do, but it's stuff that I can handle. Like, it's stuff that I can handle. My skin, like, it's not crazy. But, like, it's a lot. I think, like, I think I reached a point of my career where I feel like I'm finally overwhelmed from public perception and I haven't processed it. So this is literally my therapy session right now. Lol. Yeah, there's just a lot in my 20s that I didn't process. So I'm like, maybe I should, yeah.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to the relevancy of the amount of work she has to do, and has any real intention of actually doing, as it relates to her potentially reaching a point she already has long consciously seen sufficient reason to believe will eventually occur, of her seriously feeling overwhelmed from public perception, perhaps primarily as a result of her behavior in her 20s, which she consciously utilizes her live streams and perhaps specifically her Twitch chat to essentially validate for as long as possible.
I've had therapy before, and I just understand my feelings really well. So therapy doesn't help me much anymore. But I'm also really detached and disassociated right now. So, yeah. I think like things will get better for me. I just need to I just accidentally stumbled into a bad place. Like I accidentally I think I suppressed too much accidentally. So now it's just like coming out. But I think I'll be fine. Like realistically, I'll be fine. Of course.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to how she utilizes formal therapy, especially in relation to seriously irresponsible behavior she's very conscious of as authentic serious mental illness she possesses, as well as how that relates to her suppressing her emotions, and if that will or should ultimately lead to her being okay.
Yeah, no one guys, honestly, I'm mentally struggling because everyone is so good to me and there's a ghost in my room. Like I'm just ill. I'm literally ill. No, I'm not saying it's worse that I don't have anything to be. Well, no, I have a lot to be sad. I have a lot to be stressed over. Oh my god. No, it's not because I have too many friends, but guys, it's a lot. Like my life is a lot right now. Yeah, I have a friendly ghost. Okay, this part is really bad, but I'm too it's hot. Like there's a lot of people in my life, and I think I'm too popular, guys, because it's stressing me out. And I realized there's so many good people I meet, and I'm such a I'm honestly genuinely a nice person. I'm genuinely a very kind person. So I like to really meet and get to know someone when they enter my life, and I got used to just numbing it all because of what I do. And there's little things like that plague me at night. It's I'm the type of person that thinks about every single interaction I have throughout the day. I like to think about it. I like to process it, and I like to really reflect on those. And because I've numbed myself to all of those things, a part of me doesn't feel human anymore. I feel very detached from life and disassociated. And then there's a level of guilt there too. It's I feel unnecessary guilt everywhere.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to having something she's seriously emotionally distressed over, Specifically, something that in more recent times she has no longer been able to as successfully manipulate others by abusing as egregiously as she has in the past. Further, of her utilizing that deception in order to also engage in serious deception in relation to how appropriate her level of popularity is and how that relates to her supposedly being nice, and how that makes it appropriate to treat her unnecessary guilt as somehow indicative of her humanity.
And like I want to slow down right now. I want to slow down right now, like for the sake of myself. I want to like give myself a break, but I can't because I feel a lot of pressure. I need to do YouTube content for sure. I need to get my shit together. I don't want to take a break. Like, I want to just be good and post. I know that will make me happy, so perhaps I just need a few days of rest. Or I don't know. But also for me, like, I just can't really take a break because breaks don't really make me happy. I just, like, lost my momentum. Of, like, getting in the workflow.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to her desire and ability to take a break from working, especially in relation to her maintaining her momentum of getting in the workflow.
Are you feeling better? I am. I feel a bit more relieved. Like, my body's been craving, like, relief. I've just been craving relief. Like, every day I just crave relief. So I think I'm burnt out. Yeah, I think that's a symptom of being burnt out. So I'm just like trying to figure out what provides me relief, but nothing really provides me relief right now. So I think I like neglected myself to the point where I got depressed. So now I'm in like a really bad hole. Once I get out, like I need to make sure this doesn't happen again, or like if it does, it's okay, but like the timing could not be worse.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to what provides her relief and how that relates to her feeling or being burnt out. Further, that she utilizes that deception to also engage in serious deception in relation to if or why she's neglecting herself and possibly feels depressed as a result, as well as if or how effectively she's endeavoring to prevent similar instances from reoccurring, especially at a specific interval or at a specific time.
Well, I don't understand why you're so sad. It's something happening at your birthday party. Like, is your arm bruised? No, sir. You know what? The fact that you don't understand, like, you're really lucky. Because I feel like any mentally ill person looks at me right now. They're like, I get it. But, like, that's really good. I'm happy for you. I'm happy for you if you don't understand why I'm crying right now.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to the public perception of anyone who attempts to present or interpret a deeper or concealed meaning behind her behavior, framing them as mentally ill for doing so, providing absolutely no meaningful facts, evidence, or substance to the assertion while presenting it as indisputable and inherently true.
I'm so avoidant in life right now. I'm really good at facing my fears and growing. Like, I've grown a lot. Anyone who's known me like 10 years ago, like, my growth story is insane. So I think I'm burnt out in general from everything. I'm burnt out. Like, I know people want me to get better right now, but I know I'm depressed because I don't even want to. I'm like, can I please just like, I really wish I could just like do nothing and play games and like cry every day. That sounds amazing to me, but I also know like I know that would just make things worse. Like I know that too. So but like low key, I feel like with depressed people, you guys should be like, yeah, you guys should do nothing, and then like let the depressed person decide on their own to like, you know, when they want more for themselves. But like right now, I'm like, if someone tells me to like do something, I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I'm usually not like this. Usually I'm very like proactive and like improving myself.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to her ability, desire, and willingness to face her fears and authentically grow in a healthy, functional direction as a person. Further, that she utilizes that to engage in serious deception in relation to her feeling or being burnt out, willing to follow guidance or instructions from others, and how she leverages that to attempt to force others she sees as depressed to allow her to guide or dictate their decisions and pursue life choices she perceives as appropriate to consider them wanting more for themselves.
I got a lot of like, I have so many new kinds of fans. Like, I'm having difficulty with my rebrand. Because guys, all I had to do, like, all I did before was like, this is what I wanted. I wanted to show the world that I'm not just like a cute girl that cooks or whatever. But now that I'm here, I don't know what to do now. Now I'm like, damn, do I have to continue showing that? Like, what if I just want to, I don't know. I'm like overthinking everything. It's so bad. I need to like not think.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of serious inauthenticity in Jamie's branding to the extent that she decided to rebrand herself in a manner so incongruent with the reality of who she is that she's left confused on how to even behave in a manner consistent with the branding she's attempting to present as appropriate for her to have.
What do I want? I want my rewards. I would love some juicy brand deals. Yeah. Can we all manifest like juicy brand deals for me?
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of serious entitlement in Jamie's attitude reflected in her behavior during live streaming.
I'm just like so depressed. I don't even ask for things these days. But like literally in my life experience, if I want something too bad, I don't get it. So I need to also let go. But then also in my life experience, if I don't go for something, I won't get it. So then I'm like, those are two very conflicting thoughts.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of consciously, seriously dysfunctional overall methods of operation that Jamie has been utilizing in attempts to ultimately achieve the rewards she has been seeking.
I actually like see girls, like I put girls on a pedestal for sure. And like I don't know why the last like 7 months I cared about what people thought more. There was another like girl creator who she also does food content. Obviously I'm not gonna name her name, but like she told my friend, she was like, oh, like I don't like Gumdrop, like I think she sets women back, which was like a crazy comment to hear. And obviously like if a guy, okay, I don't know if this is sexist of me, but if a guy said that, I've actually like really learned how to cope with like comments from men, because I think I have a healthy relationship with like my perception of men, because my brother and my dad would never say things like that. So for me, I detached from like negative comments from men really easily, but when it comes to women, I can't. And I definitely have had like growing up, I had more issues with women in my family, and I like feel a lot of pressure and guilt when it comes to taking care of other women, and I don't really feel equal ever. And you know, this is something a lot of women struggle with. Like a lot of women like don't feel equal ever. So yeah, so like that stuff fucks me up. Like if I get a hate comment from a girl, I'm like, I'm fucked up. And I'm like, damn, you know what, maybe it's good that I had content that still attracted more men, because I don't think I would have been able to handle it. It's like a lot of pressure, and you want to do good for a female audience, like you really do. I think if I had a female audience, I would feel a lot of pressure to do good for them, but it's still scary pressure. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm sure men know what it means. Like if you get shunned by another man, like it feels like shit, right? So I guess specifically for me, it definitely hurts more. Like a lot of pain I've been through has been from like other women, but not because of them, but it's because like I didn't really care so much. But yeah, Anyways, it's just like small things like that.
The evidence demonstrates a sharp contrast in Jamie's attitudes towards criticism she receives from different genders and suggests that seriously irresponsible misrepresentation of the reality of my views, particularly through seriously irresponsible and inconsistent misrepresentation of the true significance of my gender identity, which Jamie definitely in reality has known is something she's been doing entirely against my consent and to my detriment, to the point other creators see potentially seriously harmful implications for females more broadly, is a major contributor to the broader dehumanizing mechanism she's contributing to being inflicted on me. Further, it demonstrates a pattern of her constantly trying to minimize and dismiss the significance of how harmful such behavior really is, even if individual instances of it seem small to her.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone feels grief with success, like, but I think mine's different because I don't actually like feel that successful, just because like I think I crave like stability a lot, so I don't know.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to a feeling of grief as it correlates with a feeling of success for her, especially as it relates to the stability in her life.
I think like direction helps me feel better. I don't know. Direction helps me feel better, but I don't know. Don't really know what I need right now.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to her pursuit of and the perceived helpfulness of giving her direction, especially as some kind of requirement to make her feel better.
I know I am enough. What am I? Because well, okay. I think once my family's taken care of, I'll feel enough. It's just a really big need of mine. After that, I don't even care.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to her feeling and being adequate and deserving of the position she's in, especially in relation to those she considers family.
I want to take care of my parents, and also I want kids, guys. I want kids, and I'm not gonna lie, like, you know, I'm not married to any rich guy, so I'm like, okay, I have to, like, you know. So I gotta work. Got to work.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to her possible desire to biologically reproduce, as it correlates to her prospects of marriage with wealthy or powerful individuals, and how that correlates to the kind and amount of work she does.
Can I, like, rant about something else that's, like, been destroying me? I think, like, I'm not... I don't think I hate how, like, cold adulthood is.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to her enjoyment of coldness of adulthood.
I like it when people are nice to be nice. Like, I like it when people are just human and nice. I don't like it when people are nice because they respect me, or not respect, but because they think I have something to offer, or like because I'm cool or something, and I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like, I want people to be nice to me because they connect to me on a human level, but like reality is not like that. Like, and I remember in LA, like as time went on, I was like, I feel like people are getting better, and then I realized, no, I'm just getting more successful. And that's why, like, when I talk to my girlfriends and they're like worrying about what people think about them, a toxic mindset I have that I kind of push is like, fuck what they think and focus on your game, because once you gain respect or like focus on your own craft and people see that, they'll respect it. But in terms of like actual essences of our human soul, many people will not respect that. And like, it's just sad because I feel like I'm like that. Like, I'm like that. I don't care like what someone has accomplished. Like, I want to know like their essence or like who they are as a person. So I've numbed myself to so much of it.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to kindness or respect she receives as a result of having a public platform, and how that correlates to her lack of kindness, respect, and recognition of validity and authenticity of others' accomplishments, and how she attempts to portray herself as a good person for claiming that non-recognition is favorable to them having their human soul authentically recognized. Further, it demonstrates a pattern that such deception is utilized by her in order to consciously, maliciously manipulate and pressure others to ignore their concerns they may bring to her about what other people think of them.
Guys, like, okay, so like workers are either like they're either really nice to me, or they're just really mean to me because I feel like I seem easy to bully. Like right now, maybe not, right? But like usually I'm like, especially like when I'm not wearing makeup, I kind of look very easy to fucking bully. And my voice too, like I don't talk like this to them instantly. Like I'm really nice and I'm going like, hi, good evening, like. And I'm like, how many fucking charisma books do I have to read? How many like I've tried so hard my whole life to get with the cool rich people like lingo because you just get treated better, and I'm like, I don't know how that works. Like my growing up, my parents say sorry to everyone. My parents are like, don't inconvenience anyone, say sorry. And then I go into this world and there's people who like never say sorry and they get more of what they want because they never say sorry. So I told myself, Jamie, you need to stop saying sorry. Don't say sorry. Yeah, so I'm like learning all this shit and I'm like, oh my god, like I need to learn more because like clearly it's so in me to like do that. Like some people get more because like closed mouths don't get fed. So like if you complain more, if you complain or you like escalate something, like you'll get better treatment, you know? Charisma wise, I mean, not charisma wise, but I just don't have enough assertiveness.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to her consciously, seriously disingenuous engagement with politics, and how she intentionally escalates her problematic, knowingly and reasonably foreseeably seriously harmful behavior and refuses to meaningfully, adequately apologize when she should. Further, it demonstrates a pattern of such behavior, resulting in Jamie gaining awareness of the extent of how unreasonable and irresponsible her attitude actually is, which Jamie consciously chooses to utilize as fuel to indulge in inflicting even more severe harm, rather than any authentic, serious attempts to change for the better.
No, I actually think I'm so normal. But like I think people are, I don't know, I think I have too much depth or something. I just think too much. I don't know. I also like cannot find someone like me, so I'm stressing out because then it makes me feel like something's wrong with me. I guess no one is ever like you fully, but I'm just like, why am I so plagued in my mind all the time? Why is my... Oh, I want to talk about my sensitivity more just because like there's people who definitely feel the same way as me, but it's not that accepted in this world, or it's hard.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to her ability to find others who appear to resonate with her mental state and make her feel like she belongs in the world.
I have a big heart and I'm just like, I think I need to learn how to protect it. So perhaps I'm experiencing this because I need to learn how to like, I need to learn how to take care of myself. I just like don't know how. I think because I don't like the boundary thing, I do that, but like I'm not happy doing that too much. Like I really want to be present in everyone's life. I think that's like a big realization I've had this like last year. I want to be a part of people's life. Like I want to be involved. I want to know what's going on. I want to like be attached, and like I detached myself for so long, and so now I'm doing that with my family, right? Like I'm like really close to my family right now, and I'm like I'm like really trying to find a lifestyle where like I can take care of them and like it works. And then there's also like but like friends and stuff too. Like I'm not, I mean I don't know, there's just a lot, and I'm just like thinking how to be more like mindful of everything.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to her enforcement of boundaries with others in correlation with her presentation of her supposedly having a big heart while also being able to take care of herself. Further, it demonstrates a pattern of her utilizing such deception in order to manipulate others' perception of her desire to be present in their life and attached to them somehow, and demonstrate authentic mindfulness towards them.
No, for real, I haven't been, well, okay, no, I like, when you're like depressed, okay, not gonna lie, when I'm depressed, I'm like, holy shit, like, you forget what depression feels like if you haven't, like, when you're not depressed. It just makes me empathetic for people who are like always depressed. I do feel much better, thank you guys. Hey guys, now I'm sad too. I'm gonna be depressed.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Jamie engaging in serious deception in relation to how her own experiences of depression give her empathy towards others who are experiencing it or that she perceives to be experiencing it, especially in correlation to her claims of feeling as such in her public presentation. And it doesn't stop there. Jamie never would have been able to harm my existence how she has without there being someone I've actually wanted in my life, and saw at least some kind of reason to believe wasn't just my enemy all along helping her. That person is Kimi. And there's evidence from how Kimi behaved on her stream on the exact same day to substantiate that assertion.
Doesn't Balenciaga have drama? When I bought this, they didn't, and then they got themselves in drama. See, this is why you never spend all your money on useless designer clothing, because all of these designer brands are fucked up, and it's a terrible investment because they're gonna get into drama after you spend all your money on designer products, and then you're gonna regret it. So, you know, at least I did not pay Balenciaga directly for this, you know what I mean? But you don't have to worry about me and my candles because you won't be catching me in any drama. Knock on wood. No, seriously though, I live guilt-free. I'm trying to think. Yeah. No, actually. If anything, I'd say that some people have done me kind of dirty. But I think the only people I've done dirty was because I was dumb and in my 20s, but it was never anything crazy. Like the worst it would get for me was that I might have, you know what? I might have said something mean about somebody behind their back. I know. I might have been like, you know, little Billy over there? Yeah, his shoelaces were untied and I wanted to trip him. I wanted to trip him so badly. But I didn't. But next time I will. A Billy comes out in my life and posts a tell-all. Kimi was out for me. She wanted to trip me. But y'all won't be catching me in any drama is all I know. I think that's how you win at the end of the day. You just keep your life peaceful. I'm not gonna lie, like, my whole life I've been so hard on myself, thinking I'm a bad person, and then I gained self-awareness. And when I gained self-awareness, I'm like, Kimi, like, you don't even leave your house. How are you thinking you're such a bad person? All you do with your life is you tap on the mic, you tap on mics, you take pictures, and like you don't leave your house. And I'm like, oh, so like sometimes we might think that just because we're thinking about wanting to trip Billy, we think that we're bad people. But let me tell you this, you can envision tripping Billy all day, every day. But just because you think about tripping Billy does not mean you're a bad person, okay? Now, if you go out and actually trip Billy, then, you know, you should probably not do that. But to be fair, Billy had it coming. You're right. If Billy's a man, he had it coming. For being a man. No, I'm kidding. Just kidding. Just kidding. Okay, but like honestly, real men get that joke. Cause come on, men in 2026, like some of y'all are crazy. Like I love a lot of you guys, you know. I think I have a pretty healthy relationship with you know, the idea of men. Well, that's a crazy sentence. But like some of y'all need Jesus, man. I don't know. I mean, girls do too. Like everyone needs like some therapy, you know, but you know. I'm like, you know, I'm okay with the concept of a man. No, but like real talk though, I'm actually a really huge advocate of men's health, and I say that specifically because I think a lot of non-men in the world are pretty good at focusing on their health, but I actually think society doesn't encourage men to prioritize their health, and I think that should be a thing. So I'm actually a big proponent of men's mental health. I think it would be good for everyone to be encouraged to focus on their mental health. Yeah. What's the biggest issue with men today? I'd say like if I could change one thing about people, not only men but like people in general, is like when you're angry, put yourself in a straitjacket for like 30 minutes. Just put yourself in a straitjacket. Just don't type anything. Don't go anywhere. Don't talk to anyone. If you're angry, just don't do anything for like until you chillax. You know, I think a lot of like harm done in this world is just because people needed to like take a deep breath when they get upset instead of like hurting people, you know? I think if I could change one thing about humans, whenever people are upset, just try to like take a deep breath first and like maybe like journal out your feelings, or like maybe like, you know, take a big glass of ice cold water, and you know, like just like if you're really upset, like just try not to like hurt people, you know? Sorry, I'm like yeah. Can I tell you guys a secret? So, one reason why I needed a break from YouTube videos is because the 0.01% of haters would live rent-free in my head. So what people don't know is that I'm crazy. I'm crazy.
The evidence demonstrates a pattern of Kimi consciously engaging in serious deception, utilizing reasonably foreseeably seriously emotionally distressing expression that seriously and extensively intertwines with and amplifies also reasonably foreseeably seriously emotionally distressing expression from Jamie, while Kimi attempts to take credit for and publicly establish authority regarding certain insights into men's and women's mental health, while in reality proving that the reality of both Kimi and Jamie's public and private behavior in truth actually demonstrates the complete opposite of either of them deserving any credit for or having any authority over making any truly meaningful assertions about mental health. Further, it demonstrates a pattern that such deception has been utilized to also engage in serious deception in relation to Kimi's deservingness and likelihood of getting involved in drama, due to her supposedly feeling she's wrongly questioning if she's actually a good person, while claiming to have heightened self-awareness, even despite in reality demonstrating possessing serious mental illness and seriously lacking self-awareness. Further, that such patterns of serious deception have been utilized to also engage in serious deception in relation to Kimi's feelings and perspective towards individuals biologically born male as a whole, regardless of gender identity, in order to amplify her perceived credibility regarding supposed good intentions towards humans in general, entirely regardless of sex or gender. Further, that such patterns of serious deception have been utilized to also engage in serious deception in relation to Kimi's methods of dealing with anger, with the intent to seriously manipulate perception of the reality of harm she's caused and the true extent to which she's actually seriously attempted not to cause that harm, prioritizing mitigating harm to her reputation at the expense of exacerbating actual harm caused. Further, that all those patterns of serious deception ultimately form the basis upon which Kimi is actively attempting to grow a luxury candle company. In presenting a meaningful, coherent argument in relation to mental health, particularly when making assertions about one's own mental health, factual basis must be clearly presented. The factual basis must have a coherent and obvious presentation. It must be objectively perceivable and reasonably verifiable to exist. Let's say we live in a world where Jamie has been so egregious and heinous in her defamation of me behind the scenes that even with Kimi's level of intimate knowledge of Jamie's life, which both of them have publicly explicitly admitted to existing, Kimi somehow genuinely found it really difficult to believe I don't secretly want some kind of romantic and or sexual or other involvement with Jamie, which already seems quite unlikely. Even if Celine is utterly disgusted by me and has only ever hoped to help Kimi and Jamie destroy my life, and Celine would never genuinely want and be willing to seriously date me, Kimi should not feel guilt-free for what she's been putting me through. And if Celine actually does like me and does have serious desire and willingness to seriously date me, then Kimi should feel even more guilty for the serious harm to my connection with Celine that she's caused. That's not even mentioning that Kimi should feel guilty already regardless for very much reasonably foreseeably seriously harmful behavior that was leading me on and breaking my heart, as she knowingly tried to hold my dignity hostage for the last decade behind her supposed love for me and desire to seriously date me, which her behavior only seems to continue to demonstrate never has really existed, as she's tried to steal my creative inspiration and leave me severely, disadvantageously, desperately codependent on her in order for me to essentially function in any meaningful or fulfilling capacity at all, hiding behind some absolutely ridiculous supposed belief that I have some kind of extremely compromising secret desires or intentions towards Jamie that literally absolutely nobody has ever had any even remotely adequate reason to believe ever existed is seriously irresponsible. Maybe Kimi had that as an excuse in the very beginning, because of how I behaved at the meetup. But I'd say I've shown such extremely clear absolute lack of any interest whatsoever in really any kind of involvement in Jamie's life ever since that anyone being even remotely reasonable should have seen already, well before I would have released the manifesto in 2019, that nobody entertaining any possibility of me ever dating Jamie, publicly or privately, is at all doing a good thing for me. I made my complete lack of any interest in Jamie having any involvement in my life or attachment to me abundantly evident even long before I wrote my manifesto. I served an over 1-year jail sentence for publicly releasing Kimi's seriously harmful and distressing gross negligence to communicate properly or handle these matters with a truly reasonable level of responsibility for her involvement in any possible misunderstandings is the entire reason any harm that may have arisen from that document's writing and release has occurred. For her to imply or attempt to claim that I needed to just take a deep breath and calm down and journal or take a walk or something is seriously irresponsible, just as it would be for anyone else in the entire world to make such a claim. I was patient for years before realizing escalation how I did it was absolutely necessary, and I still firmly believe it was. The evidence only continues to demonstrate it. The reality is that absolutely no real evidence has ever existed to truly substantiate any reasonable belief for anyone to have that I've ever had any serious intimate prospects other than Kimi and Celine, nor that I've ever found either of them not to be exceptionally attractive to my liking. Anyone claiming otherwise has in reality just been attempting to hold my intimate prospects, and by extension my happiness and future as a whole, hostage, fully knowingly, entirely to my detriment and entirely against my consent, to try to leave me extremely lonely and miserable and desperate in hopes they will get to control me at some point. They were hoping I would desperately pursue their validation for my existence, or somehow desperately need their help to even simply just survive or feel any meaningful sense of happiness or fulfillment at all in life. I reiterate that any communication attempted to any unofficial channels ever associated with me or at all identified with me, whether ever at all actually owned and or operated by me or not, is not being checked by me and should be assumed never to be received by me at any time. Only the official contact methods listed on my podcast YouTube channel are valid methods to contact me and should be seen as at all reliable methods to communicate anything truly meaningful to me at this time. I reiterate that absolutely no assumptions should be made about what precisely I consider a principled or integrity-preserving position. Only my position explicitly stated on this podcast should be considered authoritative or at all meaningful in general as any kind of indication of my consideration as such. I have not been and am not looking to connect with anyone privately in my personal life who any connection with would at all compromise my integrity publicly established through this podcast. There is absolutely no real evidence otherwise, nor should anyone expect any to ever come into existence. I won't keep responding to behavior like this from anyone, and that does not at all indicate a compromise of my integrity. It ends up coming off as pathetic complaining and disingenuous, malicious public shaming that just compromises a meaningful perception of me being serious, and it leaves room I don't want to open up for harmful actors related to these matters to continue creating and perpetuating seriously harmful narratives about me. Then that just compromises my legal leverage, my reputation, and my dignity as they continue to attempt to coercively, entirely non-consensually, force my behavior to fit their false narratives about me that in reality are entirely detrimental to every aspect of my existence. It just introduces a bunch of chaos that I've never wanted and will never truly benefit from having exist at all in my life. I also differentiate that from limited, potent exposing of the seriously harmful false narratives that have existed to already have caused and be perpetuating the harm being inflicted on me. I'm demonstrating that I don't owe it to anyone to stay silent about harm being inflicted on me. I'm demonstrating the extent that my efforts deserve recognition, and how irresponsible and unreasonable it is that relevant actors utterly refuse to give me any meaningful recognition regardless. I'm demonstrating there's clearly seriously irresponsible and unreasonable social dynamics surrounding handling of these matters that do not at all originate from me. The problem isn't any social media algorithm. It's humans that have attempted to put themselves on a pedestal as gods while in reality being unqualified to retain the kind of attitude they possess. It's not some billionaire's fault or some company's fault. It's the fault of all the individuals more directly consciously involved for apparently being so egregiously corrupted that me just living my life seems to reveal I'm apparently the only creator in the entire world who's actually both completely, authentically decent and seriously, substantially, materially intelligent. While the kind of extreme bad faith behavior clearly present in how several individuals have chosen to deal with my existence can perhaps leave me in a position I've had to make a few releases, even after demonstrating my seriousness to the extent of publicly releasing that I've issued a formal pre-litigation notice that has a very serious, real, relevant limit. I will not tolerate attempts to emotionally manipulate or blackmail me. Most people are remarkably lazy, selfish, stupid, and are drowning in their traumas and ego. They want cheap thrills, stupid little dopamine hits, and cheap entertainment, not meaningful, deep engagement with existence that brings a true feeling of fulfillment. That's not capitalist algorithms censoring me. That's algorithms effectively serving users the content they've proven they want to see. And sure, perhaps there's some extent of bias that is unfavorable to some creators in terms of actually pushing out their content. That still doesn't really matter here. If the moral character of all the surrounding prominent actors related to these matters wasn't extremely degenerate, morally bankrupt sellout garbage, I still wouldn't be getting such absolute non-recognition of my efforts as I've been getting. Whether or not any social media algorithm pushes me out to a wider audience is utterly irrelevant to what I'd consider success. Whether or not I get a bunch of money and or publicity in the more immediate future has never been a primary concern or motivating factor for me either. The perpetuation of seriously harmful narratives that implicitly or explicitly attempt to present me as at all inauthentic for any reason, in effect blatantly, egregiously disrespecting my publicly explicitly stated position on this podcast, absolutely must end immediately. absolutely unconditionally. If society isn't too severely corrupted by politics and mental illness for me to actually succeed in a manner I actually consider success, then I should have already succeeded in single-handedly enforcing that effect. If society's too severely corrupted, then I'll be left with no real option but to formally file for litigation against multiple prominent creators and drag them through an in-depth discovery process where I'm subpoenaing multiple social media platforms and cell carriers. If my lawsuit is one-sided, I will be the side overwhelmingly demonstrating validity to my position, not the other way around. I will not be the one attempting procedural abuse if any occurs, and I do not take the prospect of it happening lightly. I have already publicly, explicitly, meticulously distinguished procedural resolution and substantive resolution across all relevant domains. My position and resolve is unwavering. It is not possible to deter or subdue me through procedural hollowing strategies. I seriously, strongly suggest that all relevant parties do not ignore or trivialize this.